You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
Alrighty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and joined as always by your co-host, Kevin. Kevin, how we doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. Back in the friendly confines of Mikasa, and good to be here on a Friday night with you, talking a little fantasy football and kind of the last, for most people, right? The last Sunday slate before the playoffs start. So, hopefully Thursday night didn't mess with anybody too bad.
Well, that CD injury might be interesting to see how that plays out, especially for
that was
15.
Yeah, that was gruesome, right? I mean, seeing his hand freak out and everything else, very, very Tua-esque as far as his body language. So yeah, that's super scary. So wish him well in a speedy recovery. But Jahmyr Gibbs again, right? I mean, even not having a great day on the ground, the 3 touchdowns obviously get you there, no matter what the yardage looks like. So Gibbs had himself a day. St. Brown, better than I expected, right? Being, basically a non-participant and then working out, kind of getting the reports that he's given a thumbs up and then going. He was serviceable, right? He was not elite, but he was serviceable. Williams had another good game. If you carry kickers in your league, hopefully you had Brandon Aubrey, because he had himself a day. Really the I'm not going to say the lone, but Pickens was a little bit of a dud, right? The fumble didn't help things. But nevertheless, it's one game. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna keep looking forward here because we got a decent slate of games here coming up and some very interesting matchups for inter-division games and jockeying seeding for the playoffs or division races, all that good stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be a really good week 14.
Right. And some encouraging news for any Jaden Daniels managers out there. Looks like he is back here in week 14, and we'll see what that looks like. Drake London ruled out. So it's one of those that I'm not so sure that they haven't just started kind of folding things up there in Atlanta a little bit, but
Arizona is, right? Like whatever their plan or isn't with Kyler Murray, they came out, I think it was earlier today, right? And just said, look, Tyler's not coming back. So he went from being injured to practicing, looking like he was about ready to go, to no, he needs a little bit more time. We're going to stick him on IR, to no, we're not going to mess with this at all. So seemingly he has drastically fallen out of favor with the Cardinals organization.
Right.
So we will see what that looks like here going forward, and whether they look for another free agent, whether they run Brissett one more year and give him kind of a cushy veteran, 1 or 2 year contract as they kind of bridge through that until they find their quarterback of the future, whatever that looks like. But it sure gives the feeling of Kyler's time in Arizona is about ready to strike midnight.
Right. But it's interesting too, right? Because they came out and said flat out it's not progressing. Yeah, yada yada yada. All the reports are, but yeah, it is kind of interesting there because not that long ago we did see some videos and things like that come out of practices where it looked like certainly moving and grooving around. So interesting to see, the medical test or whatever they're doing there say that it's not progressing there. But and then when some of the coaching staff was asked about kind of point blank, is he going to be here next year? And it's we're focusing on the Rams this week. So that's one of those that a lot is said and what is not said there.
Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting to see, right? There's a lot of there's a lot of teams out there that could certainly utilize Kyler's skill set to potentially try and get them over the hump there a little bit, right? The Vikings could certainly use something like that to get things going. Bet you we'll see Justin Jefferson targeted, sometime before the fourth quarter in games.
Yeah, I think that could be extremely interesting, Right now, I'd have to go through and look where the Vikings cap situation is and what Kyler's contract could or couldn't do, or if Arizona needs to pay for some of that. Like, there's a bunch of things that could or couldn't happen. But I mean, if you're Minnesota and seeing what you have in your quarterback room, you got to be going. We got to do something. Our window's closing. We got to do something. Like Aaron Jones is not a young pup anymore. I believe they do have him and Mason next year back. Obviously, Addison, Hawkinson, and Jefferson. Like, so if you're able to draft the offensive line, right? Like if they can get some line help on both sides of the ball and kind of shear some things up, Minnesota in theory isn't very far off, but it looks like they're a long way off because the quarterback position right now is a gaping hole. It just
Well,
is.
there was a team that won 14 games last year.
Yeah.
With a different quarterback, right? And yes, year to year it's completely different teams, right? Like I get that one or two pieces gained or lost make a drastic difference, but that's a team that last year was competing for the number 1 seed going into the last week of the season.
Could you? All right. Wishful thinking. Flacco going to Minnesota.
Why wouldn't you? If you're Minnesota, why don't you just see if you can't bring him in, right?
Like
one of those he has to get released and try and sign, but
would he? Because they didn't when he came on, he didn't get a multi-year deal from Cleveland. I don't think. I think he's just been a 1-year rental from Cleveland and then to Cincinnati.
It very well could be, but
yeah, who knows, right? Like it's all the things, and we do have all off season to kind of look at that, whether it's Kyler, whether it's something else. But it's Minnesota. It's a problem. We'll see how that goes, but yeah, this week in the home league, like I'm sitting Justin Jefferson. Like I can't anymore. Like I don't know that I've ever in 19 years of our home league had a 4-week losing streak. And I am sitting on a 4-week skid. And I could be wrong, but I don't remember sitting on a 4-week dumpster fire like I have been. And it is largely in part to my wide receiver room because McConkey and Jefferson aren't getting it done the way that they should. And then I didn't play Terry McLaurin like I should have. Like it's just all the things. It's just frustrating as hell. But nevertheless, I have one more week to get it right, and then it really matters. So
well, at this point, to be honest with you, in that league, it doesn't really matter what the outcome of. I mean, for seeding purposes, it does a little bit, right? But you're kind of jockeying for position on who maybe you get in the first round type of thing. But at that point, right? Like,
I'm staying on the same side of the bracket. Like I'm right. I know what side of the bracket I will be on, win or lose or draw,
right?
Which I actually kind of prefer. So maybe this is going to work out in my favor because I think I prefer the side of the bracket that I'm on right now, as opposed to the other half.
Well, I've got a similar situation, right? Because if I win this week, I scooch up into the other side of the bracket. If I lose, I stay where I am. And kind of preferring more the side of the bracket that I'm on now. Just with how that would kind of play out there. But it'll be interesting to see how that one comes to play for sure. So we'll see how that kind of plays out there and continues moving forward. But there are some good games this week, right? I feel a little bit better about some of the slate that we have this week versus what we had last week, right? Last week was a little bit
trashy. Like it just and there was obviously Carolina beating the Rams was an upset. There was a couple good games that came out of it, but all the good games were the primetime games.
Right.
Like the Sunday slate was garbage.
Right. And
the Monday night game wasn't that good either. Like, so
No.
you had your Thursday night games, your Sunday night game was okay. But after that, like the Sunday main slate and the Monday night game were not overly entertaining.
No, it was pretty bad. So
But I like this slate better. A lot of divisional matchups this week. So
Right.
lots and lots of divisional matchups this week.
All right. And you're kind of looking at it too. There's really not very many even interconference type of games, right? Most of these things are either division games or conference games. So we're going to see a lot of kind of jockeying for playoff position and what this looks like on the actual NFL side of things here. Really very, very few of, and actually looking at it, I don't.
The Monday night game
is the only one I think that has two.
Yeah, it's interconference, or everything else is either conference or divisional.
Right.
And again, the vast majority are divisional this week.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be good, right? Like, I mean, Cincinnati Buffalo should be good for multiple different reasons, right? And another week of Burrow back, at least it has all the stars involved.
Right.
So we're going to see how that shakes out, between James Cook and Chase Brown and Jamar Chase, Higgins, Josh Allen, Shakir, I get it, but he's still fantasy relevant, like as a number 3 or a flex play, right? So you got to at least include him. So that should be a good one. Chicago and Green Bay has a ton of playoff implications, at least currently in it. So right now, Chicago's the 1 seed in the NFC. If Green Bay beats Chicago, Chicago drops all the way down to 7.
Right.
It's a massive jump. There's a massive difference in what that looks like for your playoff future between being 1 and being 7. So this is going to be a massive game with Green Bay home against Chicago. So that'll be a good one to see.
And that kind of reminds me of that same scenario last year with Green Bay and Minnesota and Detroit going into the final week of the season, right? Where if you win, you're 1. If you're not, you drop all the way down to 5 and you don't even get a home game. And you're talking about at least a 14-win team there, right? Chicago a little bit different. We're not quite that far into the season, but there's a massive jump between that 1 and 7 spot. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Kansas City, Houston, I think it's really an interesting one. Like, you almost wonder if it's kind of the same implications. Like, we spent a lot of time talking about this Dallas Detroit game earlier and how the loser is pretty well out of it.
Right.
This Houston Kansas City game almost has the same feel to it. They're both kind of hanging around. They're both 3rd in their division right now. They're kind of scraping for a wild card spot. Like, what are we going to get here? So that's super interesting for sure. Jacksonville, Indianapolis, the battle for first place in the NFC South. So that's obviously going to be big time. I don't know that anyone's super excited about the Jets in Miami. It's a divisional game, but it's kind of the one that has the least eye-catching appeal.
Right.
New Orleans and Tampa Bay is even interesting, right? Because Tampa Bay is really trying to hold Carolina off at this point, and Tampa Bay has been on a bit of a skid. So are they able to get it right against a reeling New Orleans team? I'd say for Tampa, their saving grace is they're at home this week. So that does help them, but they need to get a win. Like, they need to get on the right side of the ledger here because they've been struggling here the last couple of weeks. And then
they squeaked by last week Arizona by 3. Like, it was much tighter than it probably should have been.
Yep, absolutely. Again, one that may not look so great on paper, Denver at Vegas, right? We saw the ugly Thursday night game a few weeks back. I expect this one to be a little bit better. But again, this is for playoff seeding, right? Like, it's Denver coming in and trying to really challenge New England for that number 1 seed in the AFC. And you got to keep winning. New England did their part, and they whooped up on the Giants before they went on their bye. So they have a half-game lead technically over Denver. So Denver's here to they're going to try and tie that up and continue to make it super tight down the stretch. Fun games. Minnesota at Washington, meh. Like, I think it'll be interesting what Washington team you get. Jaden Daniels comes back, see if you can get McLaurin going. Like, there's fantasy appeal in this game. you hope that JJ McCarthy just, didn't hurt his head so much that he forgets who Justin Jefferson is, or maybe he hit his head hard enough he remembers who Justin Jefferson is. Yeah, it just, I say that tongue in cheek, like, don't cancel me. Like, I'm just kidding, everybody. But in all regards, like, he is arguably he's a top 3 wide receiver in the league. Right. He just is. And this year you could argue top 5, but still talent wise, he's there. It's him, it's JSN, it's CeeDee Lamb, it's he's in that caliber.
Jamar Chase,
possibly Malik Neighbors if he didn't get injured. I would have been really interested to see how this season would have gone for Malik Neighbors.
Right.
But next year, we'll see it next year, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah. So,
well, it's kind of real quick before moving off of that Houston and Kansas City game, looking at some folks much smarter than I am doing some odds on this, that if they win, if they lose, and some of those types of graphics out there. NFL.com's got this thing pulled up in an article out there, but they're saying that the Texans, if they lose, they still have a 49% chance of making the playoffs, whereas the Chiefs, if they lose this game, they drop all the way down to an 11% chance of making the playoffs. If the Chiefs win, they only move up to about a 49% chance on that one. So they're still kind of outside looking in, and they've got to pretty well win out, I think, at this point to try and make a run at that.
It's just tough. Their schedule. I got to pull up their schedule here real quick. Like, I know they have Denver again. I know that they have Kansas City. I know they have the LA Chargers again. It's just a matter of who else they have on this slate. Where am I going here?
And there's a lot of 8-4 teams. So, I mean, they're 2 games back. 2 games back with what, 5 to go. So, I mean, you really have very little room for error, because realistically, for teams to make it in, they're going to need some teams to lose and then hold tiebreakers, and you're talking about playoff contending teams dropping 2 of 5 to be able to do it and still make the So
it's going to be interesting for Kansas City, right? The good news is they get 2 games at home, Houston and the Chargers, right? So at least those are at home. The Chargers game, especially, being divisional game. Then they go on the road to Tennessee. I think we feel good about that one, right? Being able to say Kansas City's going to come out ahead. They're back home against Denver for Christmas. Denver might have it locked up. So who knows what's going to go on there.
Right.
And
do they gift the Chiefs like the Chiefs did last year?
Right. And then they're at Las Vegas to end the season. So, I would tell you the 2 road games are their easiest games remaining on their schedule. But those are 3 really difficult home opponents to end the season.
Right.
Houston, Chargers, Denver, 2 of those 3 having top 3 defenses.
Right.
And Denver, especially here the last couple of years, has given Mahomes hell. Like the Chiefs, for the last few years, we've been saying this. Yes, the Chiefs were beating Denver, but Denver was not making it easy at all. They were not a doormat for Patrick Mahomes, and now they've kind of found a little recipe for success here, and getting through that. So it's gonna be tough. Kansas City's got a hell of a battle. They dropped too many games early against teams that they had no business dropping games to.
Right. Well, and then it'll also be interesting to see that December 14th matchup. So next week against the Chargers, right? Like, what is Justin Herbert really looking like here? Yes, he's got it was non-throwing, but just had surgery on that one. I would imagine that they've got him in a cast on that as well, right? Like that still changes things, right? And so it'll be interesting to see what that looks like going forward, and what Justin Herbert looks like going forward here as well, and what does that do to the Chargers moving forward as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the teams that they're that they're needing to drop games, right? They'll potentially needing the Chargers to drop games. The Colts or the Bills are your 3 wild card teams right now, all of which sitting at 8-4, and so it'll be interesting to see how that kind of comes to play. But right, the Chiefs at least hold the tiebreaker over the Colts. The Bills hold the tiebreaker over the Chiefs, and what was the other one I just mentioned? The Chargers hold the tiebreaker currently over the Chiefs. And so if they split that game, it'll come down to some other tiebreakers into play there. But I realistically for the Chiefs to get in over the Bills, for instance, right? You need the Bills to drop 3 of 5 with that tiebreaker being held by the Bills, right? The Colts, you need them to drop at least 2 and you win at least 3 of your 5. Like that is some tough sledding ahead. And then the Chargers, right? If they playing next week, if they close the door on that one, they can pretty well shut the Chiefs out of being able to catch them as well.
Which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. So it is insane looking at it. But anyway, I feel like we've spent quite a bit of time here kind of looking at that. But any news, notes, anything you want to hit up here before we start kind of jumping into the chat?
Anything too crazy, right? We talked about the CeeDee Lamb concussion, but we got 10 days before we were super worried about that. We talked about Kyler and him not coming back this season. Jaden Daniels is coming back. That's a good thing. So I think that's kind of the high notes. I'm not, unless I'm missing something. I didn't see anything else that looked to be super, at least fantasy relevant right away.
Right. Yeah, didn't really see anything else. I also mentioned the Drake London not going to be in. Yeah, I'm not thinking of really anything else that kind of comes to play there. So Marvin Harrison Jr. is also out here for this week. Trey Benson also not back there yet. So it'll be interesting to see what Arizona decides to do down the stretch and if they're really packing it up or what that really looks like. But yeah, let's go ahead and we'll start kind of hopping into the chat here and seeing what folks are looking at, what questions they've got going here. Guys, if you have questions, concerns, comments, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Let's talk about those and let's get things going here. First up, we got Jason over on YouTube saying, "What's up, my guys? Happy Friday." And Jason saying that he needs to start 2, needs the upside, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex with Sutton, Terry, Havertz, Burden, Neal, Hampton, or Vidal, 50-50 timeshare. Is it okay to drop Vidal now or wait until after this week just in case Hampton gets hurt? And Jason, if you don't need the roster spot right now and you don't have something else pressing that you're gonna be picking up, let's see what Hampton looks like here. Let's see what it comes back as on this one. To hang on to it one more week. As far as the upside, I think Scary Terry gives you the biggest upside of anybody on this list here. And as far as Hampton goes, right, like this is one of those, we've been waiting a while for Marion Hampton to come back. And as much as we want to kind of do see that one, right? This is an ankle coming back. He's been out for several weeks, been all the way out, been out since week 6. So this is, in that kind of 8-week territory here. So I want to see a guy come back before I'm going to throw him into my lineup on that one. So while Hampton, I think, gives you some really good upside. I think that he's probably more of a running back 2 this week. I want to see what that looks like. I want to see what the timeshare looks like. Wouldn't surprise me if we kind of see them ease him back in just a little bit here in week 1. Especially with Hampton or with Herbert being hurt there, right? Like you really want somebody that's going to be able to pick up the blocks and blitzes, and sometimes it's a little hard coming back off of an injury as well. But I do think that Scary Terry gives you the biggest upside on playing him, even if you've got Zach Ertz in there at your tight end. And I'm probably looking at, I think Sutton is the other guy that I would go with for the start too. Any other thoughts on this one?
I agree with Scary Terry for sure. I think I'm going to roll the dice on Hampton only because how bad the Eagles got gashed by the Chicago Bears on the ground.
Fair enough.
And if they don't correct those issues, I think they're going to be in for a long day. On top of the fact that the best way to protect Justin Herbert is for him not to get hit.
Right.
And you can't get hit. I say you can't. The likelihood of you getting hit is drastically less if you're running the ball than anything else. So I think I'd go Terry and Hampton if you're needing upside and playing off the fact that the Eagles' rush defense lately has been poor, and Terry McLaurin looked pretty good, and he's another week back. And him and Jaden Daniels, trying to get on the same page here and finish the season on a strong note. So I'd go with that, but I would keep Vidal around here for another week. There's no reason to drop him at this point.
Right. Jason saying start one. Ertz, currently have Scary Terry, Mason, Taylor, Loveland, AJ Barner, or Ingram. Ingram is the last guy in the world that I'm going to be even sniffing a lineup at this point.
He saved the day for the Broncos last week.
Yeah,
couple really ugly drops earlier, right, where him and Bo Nix weren't on the same page, but in overtime, that 43-yarder
right
saved Denver's bacon. It's
but I mean that one play though, if not, he delivers you exactly what he's delivered all season, which take the one play out of it, the high ceiling mark of 3 to 4 catches for 30 to 40 yards.
Yeah, I think Ertz is the play here.
Yeah,
take the consistency again. Him and Jaden Daniels have worked well together, so it's not that Jaden comes in and completely ignores the tight end position. He is very comfortable using that as well for his check downs and some of the routes that are coming across. And again, I'm not going to say that he's gun shy coming back from that dislocated elbow, but it's possible he's not going to want to give himself open to any shots here unnecessarily. So dump the ball off, live another day. But I think I would go with Ertz here with this cast of tight ends that you're giving us.
Cosign. All right. Start to need some upside. Jaylen Warren, curious about a 50-50 timeshare with Gainwell, Pittman, Danny Pennies on one leg, Shakir in a possible shootout, or Mechie or Vele or Burden with Rome Adunze out.
All right. I guess the thing, Kenneth Gainwell's the one catching all the passes. So if it's a PPR league, I'm not seeing that listed anywhere. If it's a PPR league, maybe Jaylen Warren's not the case. Pittman does have a decent matchup here. Again, Pittman came off of 3 straight weeks of facing some really, really steep cornerback competition, right? To work through this, he had McDuffie was on him in the Chiefs game. Then you had Stingley from the Texans on him, and the week before that, it was gotta figure this out, Derek, I promise. AJ Terrell for Atlanta right before the bye week. So he has not had the easiest matchups here. Jacksonville's a much easier matchup for Michael Pittman. So I think you can start Pittman there and feel good, even with Danny Dimes being on one leg. Really, all that's meaning is he's not going to throw the ball as much. He's not going to run the ball as much. They're saying it's fine. Like, as cautious as these teams are and everything else, like if it was something that they were worried about, I do think that you would be seeing rumblings of other quarterbacks, but they haven't even like elevated anyone from the practice squad or done like backup competitions in practice. I haven't heard any of that. So
Right.
whatever this hairline fracture is, it's clearly not bad enough that they feel like if he's hit, it could get worse. So I think Pittman's the one. Shakir's interesting for sure. John Mechie is the deep,
Yeah.
John Mechie's interesting too against Miami, who's not very good. Burden, here's the thing about Burden, because I don't know this, but if someone can tell me whether Burden's going to play out of the slot or if Luther Burden's going to play outside, I will tell you whether you should start or sit him. But because I don't know, I'm going to fade this going against Green Bay. Like I think I would be risk adverse, especially if you're looking for upside. I would be risk adverse. Mechie playing out of the slot can give you some upside. Again, I like Pittman there. Shakir's probably the safest play. Again, you're probably not going to get a bunch of upside with Khalil Shakir, but you could see 6, maybe 7 catches. So your volume might be the upside with Shakir, but it might be 7 catches for like 85 yards. Like he's not the downfield threat. So the second guy is a little bit more up in the air, Derek. So if you have a strong opinion, I'm willing to hear that out. But I'd definitely go Pittman. I would probably lean John Mechie going against Miami. That seems to be working fairly well, trading off between A.D. Mitchell and John Mechie. So I could lean that and be okay. If you don't like the Mechie, I'd go Shakir.
Right. I'd rather have the A.D. Mitchell side of that Jets passing attack right now than Mitchell, than the Mechie. But I can certainly see the upside, right? Mechie had a big game a couple of weeks ago. Last week was really not quite the as much as you would have liked to have that, right? With 4 catches for 19 yards. But he is seeing 7-8 targets a game the last few games here. So there is some potential upside there, right? But it's all going to come down to how much you think that John Mechie's going to burn a 40-yard touchdown, right? If you think that he's going to do that, that is definitely your upside play. I don't know that I'm going to necessarily lean into that one. Shakir, yes, that is a possible for the shootout, but if you're Buffalo, right? Like you've proven week in, week out that when you run the ball and you run the ball a lot, you tend to do a lot better in your games. And what's the best way to beat the Bengals? To keep the defense out there, not let Joe Burrow sniff the field. It wouldn't surprise me if we see James Cook get 20 plus carries and we see Josh Allen with another 10 carries, and you even see Ray Davis get some carries in this. Like, would not surprise me to see Buffalo have 40 plus running plays out of this thing. Which I think that limits the upside on Shakir. I am going to go with Pittman on that one. I feel pretty confident on that one. So sounds like you and I are pretty well aligned there. The upside is going to be a little bit probably more limited for Pittman if he falls into the end zone, but I think he probably gives you a pretty good shot to fall into the end zone, especially if Daniel Jones isn't going to be running and scrambling on that one. And I think I'd probably end up going with Jaylen Warren. Yes, it's not sexy, but I think he gives you the best chance to get at least. I think he probably gives you the best chance to probably pick up at least like half point PPR scoring. Probably 13 to 15 points. Like I feel like he probably gives you the best route to get there. Out of anybody else listed. So that's where I would go is Warren and Pittman. Any other thoughts on that one?
No, I think the only thing that worries me about Warren is these games between Baltimore and Pittsburgh get wonky. Baltimore's offense has not been overly great. Neither is Pittsburgh's. Like, I mean, would anybody be surprised if we saw a 16-13 game
Right.
or 16-10 game? Like, it
Mhm.
just it limits. It limits what's possible out there. So I think that's part of the reason I'm shying off of Jalen Warren as well. But it's an option, right? So typically, if you need upside, I'm thinking wide receiver more than running back. Unless it's
Fair.
Jahmyr Gibbs. Like Gibbs, you could say upside. Everybody else, it's going to be hard pressed for me not to take a receiver of comparable talent to the running back. And it's hard to take the running back there this time of year.
Fair enough. I mean, and that Pittsburgh and Baltimore game is pretty much a must win for both of them, right? Like,
Battle for first, right? Like Cincinnati's creeping, but I mean, the winner of that game,
right,
has the clear lead in the division right now.
right, and for whoever's coming out of the North is pretty much going to have to win their division to make it into the playoffs. So, you've only got a few games left, and being one game up with 4 left to go after this would be a huge deal, right? And so, yeah. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, sir.
All right, Jason saying start one between Ertz, Goddard, Mason Taylor, AJ Barton, Otten, TJ, and Ingram. Yeah, I would agree. It's still Ertz for me. So
Goddard's interesting. I will give you that. Goddard's interesting, but I still think I'm leaning Ertz.
Goddard finally returned to what we anticipated Goddard to be, kind of season long, right? Like, managed to just kind of get all of those games with those touchdowns kind of squeezed into a 5-6 week period, and when he's not falling in the end zone, he is unusable for a tight end for fantasy week in, week out, right? Like, if he gets you a touchdown, he's top tight end 1. If he doesn't get you a touchdown, you're talking tight end 20 or worse. So I don't know that I want to necessarily put that one on the line there. I feel pretty confident about Zach Ertz, at least getting me a very consistent back end tight end 1, top end tight end 2. Start one between Burrow, Love, and Trevor.
You're going Burrow because of where the weapons are.
Right.
Like, it just, none of them have the easiest matchup. Realistically, Trevor Lawrence might have the best matchup against the Colts defense right now. But Burrow by far has the most talent. And the Bears on the back end have been playing really well, right? They've been very opportunistic. Jordan Love doesn't turn the ball over a whole heck of a lot, but I would lean Burrow just because I feel like Jamar Chase can find a way against any defense, and that's what Joe Burrow loves to do.
Yeah, and in order for Cincinnati to win, it's gonna come on Joe Burrow's right arm. I lean the Burrow side as well. I would say that I think Love actually probably has a little bit more intriguing of a matchup just because of what the Bears have done against opposing fantasy quarterbacks, right? The Bears are giving up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing fantasy quarterbacks this year. So I like the matchup there and what they've been giving up, although the Bears have been getting more kind of gritty over the last little bit, right? They're starting to get healthy, starting to see some things on that secondary and come through. But all of that being said, right, Jordan Love is a guy that's going to give you very boom bust, right? Like, you're going to get a top end QB performance, or you're going to get QB 24 on the week, right? Like, Joe Burrow, I feel like you may get a little boom bust, but I think you're going to put your best foot forward and trying to win. And I think Burrow's the one guy that could go out and get you 20 plus points this week out of these 3 quarterbacks you have mentioned. Any other questions on this one? Or any other thoughts on this one?
No, I don't think so.
All right, Jason saying start 4 needs upside. Vidal, Hampton, 50-50 time share. Neal, Knight, or Carter. Whoever starts. Magungai, Burden, no Rome.
You 4 of these guys?
So Magungai's in. Carter's out. Bam Knight's going to be your guy that's going to get the bulk of the run, I think, because DeMarco is out on that. So Michael Carter will fill in third down type of deal. And I think Bam Knight will get your first, second down. And Bam Knight's been sneaky good the last few weeks here and is worth flex play consideration on that one. Still going Hampton over Vidal on that. And I'm kind of struggle busting here on my fourth. What are you looking at here?
I think Manungai, Burden, being both the Bears. That's scary. Yeah, it's probably Knight, Manungai, Burden, and then I would lead Hampton. But if anybody really wanted to play Vidal, I'm not going to fight you too hard. But again, I'm looking at what Philly did last week, and the Chargers, in my mind, should have the desire to have a similar game plan to what Chicago had, right? Like, this is Jim Harbaugh going back to his roots. It's like, oh, a team who's kind of loose against the run, like, let's scheme this up and see if we can just cram it down their throats. So Hampton, Knight, as tough as that could be against the Rams coming off of a loss, but then Manungai, who's seeing 50-50 with Swift right now, and then Luther Burden, hoping he can get loose.
There we go. Neal is intriguing with Kamara out, but I'm not trusting the Saints at this point. They just can't do it. So I'll co-sign with you.
Yeah, if I get beat by Devin Neal, like, I just shake my head and move on. Like, I can live with his points on my bench and still feel confident that I played the right matchup. It just wasn't the result I wanted.
Right. Like, yeah, I mean, his averaging like 3 yards a carry right now just doesn't do it for me.
No, and Taysom Hill still plays into a lot of that, and it's just no, thank you.
Yep. Jason saying start 1 this week between Burrow, Nix, Darnold, or Trevor. Still Burrow.
It's Burrow. Yeah, it's Burrow.
Yep. Take the guy that they're gonna have to roll out there and put it on his right arm. And is it gonna surprise you if Joe Burrow throws the ball 40 times this week?
40 might surprise me, only because Buffalo is one of those teams that just is not good against the run. Like, you would think Cincinnati wants to try and at least give the illusion of running the ball enough so that way the play action's viable.
Okay.
So 40 might surprise me, but 37, 38 times, like, I think 37.5 would probably be where I set the over-under for Joe Burrow this week.
Fair enough. Because that's, I kind of looking at it, I would be less surprised that he hits 40 than if he is like, I'd be less surprised if he's closer to 40 pass attempts than he's closer to 30 pass attempts, right? Like, he's going to be throwing the ball a lot. Bo Nix, no, I don't think that they're going to throw the ball a ton in that one. Sam Darnold, that'll be an interesting one. Trevor, interesting one, but no, Joe Burrow's the play all day. South Sea over on YouTube. Would you drop Rachaad White for Jaden Daniels or Sean Tucker? Yes. I have Bucky and Daniel Jones.
I'd pick up Jaden Daniels.
One, you don't know what that, right? Like, this is one of those that Daniel Jones is playing a little hurt, playing a little injured, right? Those reports are out there. Jaden Daniels is coming back. coming back off of an injury and a season that I think he'd rather forget about. But Jaden Daniels at his powers is easily a top 5 quarterback in the league from a fantasy perspective, right? Like Daniel Jones had a really good start to the season, but has had a hard time keeping up with that, right? Like we're 4 weeks in a row that he hasn't been inside QB1 territory. So I'd be looking to pick up Jaden Daniels and have a pivot option for the playoffs if I need it.
I'd agree. And tougher matchups, but if you're looking at Jaden Daniels, this week against Minnesota isn't the juiciest matchup for opposing quarterbacks. But after that, he has the Giants. Then again, home against Philadelphia. So you would think that kind of leans in Washington's favor to be successful offensively, at least to some extent. And then a home game against Dallas in week 17. That's juicy. That's really juicy. So I'd pick up JD5 for the long stretch, what we have left in the season, but you're playing the playoff matchups at that point, like your first round of the playoffs against the Giants. Yeah, you have to make a decision for the semifinals, but if you can get through that, and then you have Dallas
for championship week
in championship week, you got to feel good about that.
Right.
Like he missed that Dallas matchup the first go around. He missed that game, but at home against Dallas, it's possible that both teams aren't really fighting for anything at that point. But give me the guy who's had a kind of a down season and wanting to right the ship and send things out on a high note. And I think that would be Jaden Daniels more so than anything the Dallas Cowboys are rolling out in week 17.
Right. Red over on YouTube, keep trying no matter what. Some good advice there.
Got to grind.
Absolutely. Frosty over on YouTube saying stash Garrett Wilson for the playoffs. If you can, yeah.
I think so, right? Seeing what that looks like. It's not a bad little wide receiver room, right? When Garrett Wilson gets healthy, between him and AD Mitchell and John Mechie, like it's not hyper sexy necessarily because the Jets are going to jet in a lot of regards, but a good part of that Jets offense is built for Garrett Wilson, right? They are makeshifting things right now. And once he comes back, he's clearly the one. Like he's not going to be fighting for scraps. Like when he comes back, he's clearly the one. And yeah, if you have the space for him, absolutely stash him. See what you can get and as far as momentum from the Jets. And if you got to play him, injury pops up, whatever, you still have, a top 15 receiver that you should be able to plug in.
Yeah, I would agree there as well. The only concern is, right, like he's slated to come back week 15 off of IR. If that really is the case, we'll see, right? Like this could be one of those that Jets realize that they've got nothing to play for and they just shut it down. So that'd be the only concern. But yes, if you've got the option to stash him, I would stash him and see what that looks like here next week. Frosty, which QB should I drop? Nix, Daniels, Dart, 4-point touchdowns.
I think you can drop Bo Nix out of this group.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like, I don't want to say that, but for fantasy purposes, I think you can drop Bo Nix out of this group.
Yeah. He's got the toughest matchups coming down the stretch here of those three. So, and he's been rough to have, right? Like it's not been fantasy. Yeah, it's not been much fun for fantasy this year, for sure.
Vegas, okay. Home against Green Bay. That's going to be a challenging one.
Right.
Jacksonville, that's okay. But then championship week at Kansas City, if Kansas City's fighting for something, that could be a challenge.
Right.
They're just not super sexy matchups. So I agree. I think Bo Nix is the guy that you can let go of and roll through it.
Right. And the Jaguars have been like sneaky good the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, they're turning the ball over, right? They're turning the ball over. But yeah, Jackson Darts is juicy. by this week, yes, but then home against Washington, home against Minnesota, okay, at Las Vegas in week 17. If you happen to have a week 18 championship game, Jackson Dart's a guy because that's Dallas. So Dart's playoff matchups are pretty juicy. So I think you keep him. Yeah, that's a bummer. As a hometown Broncos fan, that one hurts a little bit. But I think Nix is the guy that you're letting go.
I would agree. Frosty saying play Warren or Magungai.
Oh my goodness.
That's a tough one this week.
I think I'm going to tell you Magungai.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in rankings who'd probably tell you Jaylen Warren.
We're against the consensus there for sure.
I think I would ride the hot hand. And Manungai's been pretty hot here the last couple of weeks. He's been seeing, again, a pretty equal timeshare with DeAndre Swift. He definitely has a lower floor than Jalen Warren, excuse me. But his ceiling's also higher, as we saw last week. So I think a lot of it depends on how your matchup's looking. If you need a ceiling play between the two, it's Manungai. If you're just looking for some consistency and the guy who's going to be the closest to a guaranteed, 10 to 12 points, it's going to be Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, I mean, Magungai's been really good the last, the last 5 weeks or so, right? From week 9 to week 13. Like, that's a tough one to get away from, especially when you're talking on a hot hand approach, right? Like looking at it over that span. He's running back 12 through those 5 weeks in a half-point PPR format, right? Like, I would go with the Magungai side of things. Again, we talked about a little bit earlier with that Pittsburgh and Baltimore matchup. Would it surprise you if that that one wouldn't be surprising if that ends even single-digit type of scoring for both teams, right? Like 10-7, 9-6, 13-10, like that. Very well could be one of those kind of grimy, gritty, grinded out AFC North types of games to it. I think you'll get a little bit of fireworks between Chicago and Green Bay this week. And I'm going to go with the guy that right now is averaging over 5 yards a carry the last 5 weeks. Seeing almost a touchdown a game type of deal. Like I'm going to take the guy that's just getting the job done and getting the job done at a better level. And I'm going to feel better about riding that one out than putting a guy in there that has just kind of been ho-hum, getting that done. I mean, Jaylen Warren hasn't been bad, but his not even 4 yards a carry does leave a little bit to be concerned, or be a little bit to be desired there. Anyway, any other thoughts on that one?
No, I think you and I are pretty well on the same page here.
All right. Ken and Dole over on YouTube asking, hey, y'all, thoughts on Lamb playing week 15 after having 10 days off? Coach said he had a good day today. What the hell does that even mean? LOL. He entered the concussion protocol today. I don't know that you can have a good day when you enter the concussion protocol, but
yeah, I mean, a good day could be that he's not throwing up. A good day could be that he's not having sensitivity to light. A good day could be that, like his headache from yesterday has subsided. Like a good day could mean a lot of different things. That concussion was serious. Like CeeDee Lamb, to this point in his career, that's not necessarily been his. We haven't had to worry about that, even in college, right? Like he's taken some shots over his, time in college at Oklahoma and then here with the Cowboys. And we've never seen this. And it was purely how he landed, right? Like it's not that he got hit. He had a bad fall, cracked the back of his head really hard and went into that I don't even know what they call that, like that shock stasis, like whatever mode where you're seeing like him freeze and he's like that and his fingers are doing the weird thing. Like it's scary. It's scary. I don't think the chances are very good. I think that the Dallas Cowboys have been able to play without CeeDee Lamb this year because of the emergence of George Pickens, and I wouldn't be surprised that even after 10 days off, they go, if it's close, like, let's just not. Like, it's just not worth it, right? He's your star receiver. You just paid him. You have years left on this contract. The Cowboys,
You're likely
have
sitting
so
at
many
home
holes.
in the playoffs anyway.
Exactly. So I don't think that he's going to play. Now, if he clears protocol by he went in today, so if he clears protocol by Wednesday and he's able to practice Thursday and Friday, yeah, he's going to play. But at this point, it's a real sit and wait. You're not going to have any real information on him until a week from today. But I don't think that's going to be going very well.
Right. And I mean, it is the fact that it's a 10 days off, right? But this is one that we haven't seen a lot of guys really kind of bounce back from the once they enter the concussion protocol and play the next week, right? Like oftentimes we see them miss a game, but that's usually more of a 7-day turnaround. But there's been a lot of times this year that we've seen guys miss 2 or even 3 games after going into the protocol and before they're able to really clear and resume practicing. So I'd be looking for another place to pivot and be able to have something else ready to go for week 15 and playoff time here. And then if CeeDee's ready to go, that's a good thing for your roster. If he's not, you've made arrangements otherwise, right? So and actually he's got a follow Kennendall has another question down here. If CeeDee out, would you pick up Flournoy from waivers or ride it with either Watson or Godwin? You can pick up Flournoy, but it depends on who you're dropping. I certainly probably wouldn't play Flournoy over either Watson or Godwin, though, in week 15.
Yeah, Watson's going to be tough going against Denver on the road.
Right.
So that is a tough matchup. Tampa Bay has Atlanta. You could plug Godwin in. Yeah. I think you could plug Godwin in against Atlanta, and again, a home game for the Buccaneers. So I think you could feel at least confident that another week back, as long as there's not a setback this week with Godwin, Tampa Bay is absolutely still in the fight for the division. Again, trying to hold off Carolina. So you want teams who are invested in their future as far as how the season goes. The Cowboys could already be punching their ticket to the Bahamas. Watson just has a really difficult matchup against Denver, so I think Godwin's your easiest pivot here.
Right. So Michael over on YouTube saying full point PPR, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, start Pickens and Buka every week, have Strange Loveland going Strange this week, possibly through playoffs, looking to drop Loveland for burden for depth.
I think you can do that. Strange has some good matchups coming up, right? This week against Indianapolis, their linebacking core against the pass is really soft, so I think Strange is going to have a really good week. Week 15 against the Jets, it's at home, so that does help a little bit. And then at Denver's not always the greatest against the tight end. They've been slightly better this year, but then, a couple weeks ago against Kansas City, we saw Travis Kelce have like 9 grabs. So it's absolutely possible. And then again, home against Indianapolis. So I think Strange has a good enough matchup. You could drop Loveland and go with Brenton Strange and feel good about that. He's been good. I mean, he's averaging 5.5 targets in the games that he's played, all of them in this season. The biggest thing with Strange is we'd love to see him get in the end zone just a little bit more. Only 1 on the season, but his His yards per catch is healthy, right? He's sitting above 15 yards per catch as a tight end. That's pretty good. So
Right.
you could go Strange.
And with Loveland, if he's not getting in the end zone this season, like his games are about unusable for you for fantasy, right? Bretton Strange is getting the job done and being fantasy relevant even without scoring a lot of those touchdowns, right? Like still managing to get the job done, and it's still a part of that passing attack, especially since he's returned to the fold there. So I would be going with Bretton Strange as well, and I think that move for Loveland for Burden certainly could pay off there. Any other thoughts on this one? All right, awesome. Well, that's going to take us down here to the end of the chat. Guys, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, let's get those out there. Let's talk about those and get that squared away here. But while we give folks a chance to try and pose any last questions out there, any final thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
Enjoy it. This is a really good weekend of football, right? You have the conference championship games on Saturday, so obviously, that's great for the college football fan, which I know Derek and I are both really big college football fans also. So that will be very entertaining on Saturday. And again, like we opened the show with, a ton of divisional matchups this week. And only one matchup that's outside of the conference, and that's the standalone Monday night game. So
Right.
other than that, they should be extremely competitive. Maybe a little bit lower scoring as a whole this week, just because there's a lot of familiarity within the division. So, where you think, guys won't have a good week, maybe they have a slightly better one because they scheme it up just right, or guys that you think are going to have a great week, maybe they're a little bit less than expected because there's familiarity on the defensive side. But regardless, the competition should be good. So for a viewing standpoint, I'm excited for this week. It should be a much better slate, top to bottom on Sunday than what we saw last week.
Absolutely. Right. Like this is one that definitely want to tune in and see some of these things. And then, right, like we got that final week here of the regular season for most folks riding on this one. So yeah, it's time to go out there and seal your fate and set things in motion here going into the last weeks 15, 16, 17. So go out there, let's get the job done and finish off that march towards the cash and trophies. But I do think that's going to do it for us tonight. Yeah, you can find us on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the places at Good Old Boys FF. But that's going to do it for us. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe. Toodaloos.